Welcome to Something to Talk About from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. I'm Reed Price, and I'm happy to have you here. Today, we're going to be looking at some very interesting photos from Tom Hansen of the Photo Club, but I want to start by acknowledging that we are meeting on the ancestral homeland of the Suquamish people, the people of the clear salt water, who have been living on the Salish Sea since time immemorial, and we honor them and continue to learn from their stewardship of these lands and waters. I also want to thank Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island, which sponsors Something to Talk About. They have assisted independent living and memory care up on Rolling Bay. They also have day stay and respite care programs. And you can call Celia or Jamie to get a tour, ask about having a free lunch at their bar and grill. Call 206-594-1010 or check out the website at fieldstonecommunities.com. So Tom, sorry, I'll go to you. I know Paul Bryans is here also watching, as is Diane, but let's talk a little bit about what we're going to see today and what you were thinking about when you took these photos.
Okay, hey, thanks, Reed. I'm gonna, the title of this is Express Yourself, and what it is really it's kind of a photo essay on post-impressionism and impressionistic photography. What I was thinking was, I thought a lot of things when we're taking those, and I'll kind of go into that. Just a little bit about me for the people, the Photo Club may know most of this, maybe not all of it, but I basically took up photography in 2015 after I retired. And I've been a member from the Photo Club for about 2017, 2018, something like that. And my favorite subject really is people, travel, and nature. And genres are kind of street photography, dance photography, macro, and travel. And so this exhibit kind of takes a number of photos from this period, the earliest one being 2015. And I'll tell a little story about it, but till to today. And what really drove, there's a couple things that really drove this, and selecting this topic, and also a large number of the photos in there, is during the past year, due to the wonderful Bainbridge ferry, I've had a hell of a lot of time to basically be bored and do nothing, particularly on the ferry, waiting for the ferry, etc. And so at one point in time, I took a picture and somebody posted it on one of the photo, like Bainbridge Island photos. And they said, it looks like you're doing a photo challenge. I like to take a picture on the ferry every time on from a different perspective. And I kind of took that to heart. And a number of those are strictly that. But kind of as a setup for this whole thing, I'm kind of working towards a slideshow for the Northwest Camera Club competition. When I was kind of a junior in college, I did a semester abroad, and so I got to see a lot of really great art. And then when I came back, I said I didn't really know much about art, so I took kind of an art history class in modern. It kind of was a multidiscipline approach to modern art, not just paintings and stuff like that. And they really got into that kind of that when you moved away from traditional art, the stuff that was done in the studios, painstakingly historic or religious, kinds of subjects, that were done over time, very static, to things that were really dynamic of the moment, or things that that expressed feeling. And I really gravitated towards a lot of that part. When I went to more abstract, I appreciate it, but I struggle with it sometimes. So I kind of took this error and tried to tie it to photography. Interestingly enough, about the time that this movement was happening, kind of that amateur camera made the possibility to, basically capture daily life and through snapshots and put in the hands of people, which really started, spreading, photography and art to, the multitudes of people, and artists started using it to kind of, hey, let's capture that vision and then take it back and do something with it. And that's kind of the impetus of that. My process, is one that is, whether the images are kind of well planned or just a snapshot that's just, like an everyday moment that you just happen to capture with an iPhone, or if you have you're lucky to have your camera. Basically, you do that, and then in post, and you're always trying to get, that sharp image that you think about in photography, it's almost like a Dutch royal master painting where, you can see the flies and, every detail of the petal of the flower, etc. Well, you expect that from photography, and as things get blurry or weird, people, start to question, is that art or not art? Just like they question it with paintings. And so, my process, though, in this is you take it, and in post, you're playing with like a traditional picture, and then maybe you go one step further. And I've described this to somebody. It's like, with distressed furniture, you take this really beautiful piece of furniture and you take a chain and you start whooping up on it. And so basically the process is you start whooping up on this image until you get what you like. You get what kind of that original feeling that you took. Why did you take that picture, and that emotion behind it? Okay. So this image was taken in 2015. I had just bought a real camera. I read a book on the plane, and I was off on a trip to Patagonia, Argentina, and Chile, and Easter Island. And in one of the days, basically, our activity was to go to a milonga in Buenos Aires, and we were going to get a tango class. Well, I've been involved in the rec centers dance, ballroom dance program for a while. So I had learned to dance, and I decided I didn't want to go in without knowing something about tango. So I actually took a couple of lessons just so I wouldn't embarrass myself. And I actually got out on the floor on all this sort of thing. And I didn't get kicked off. Some of the people that I was with, they did get kicked off the floor because they couldn't dance. Although I didn't understand, I couldn't, deal with all the crowd kinds of issues. So here we have this image, and I was fascinated, beside just the people dancing, it's like they had all these glass things and they had liquor bottles in there. And I thought it would be a really cool to take this image, an image through this kind of showing that. And you look at that image, it's, the highlights are blown. It really just did not do what I was tending to do. So as part of my dance photography, I decided, I was thinking about this, and I said, well, where could this go? So let's go to the next one. And I took this into Topaz, and so it's titled Tango, and it's really not about the dancers in the background. The dancers and the fluidity of the motion is in the liquor bottles. And, that's what I was really trying to achieve with that. And it kind of did that. And I worked on it a long time. A lot of it was in Topaz Studio after I'd done a lot of stuff. And then you bring it back and you kind of do more traditional kinds of processing to bring out the sharpness and, deal with other kinds of things. But you give it that initial twist to whatever. So I kind of like that because of that. And since it's one of my genres, I said, I'm taking that one. Okay.
Yes, can I ask a question? I'm just
Sure.
you're kind of on top of the image. I mean, is there a way to make it any bigger, or? Is anybody else seeing that? Where
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I've just never seen it like this, so.
There might be a full screen. Yeah, there might be a full screen option.
That's better. Yeah. So for some reason, Reed, you were kind of on top of everything. It was so, and I think you're muted.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
this is much better. Thank you.
Yes.
Although, Reed, we do know you are on top of everything.
Yeah.
Or everything's on top of me. We don't know which way it's going to go. Anyway, thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a way that I can get to
Well, this is much better. I mean, I mean,
Okay.
I'm seeing the thumbnails behind it, but I am able to, or we are, I should say, are able to.
It was it was some new setting in the latest version of Zoom, which did something we didn't want it to do. So
Okay. All right, thank you.
This next image was taken in 2022, and it was at a dance recital for my one of my granddaughters, and this is not my daughter-in-law, but this was a moment that was just too cute to not capture, and whatnot. The shooting in this thing was it was in a very dark room. It was just light was horrible. I had kind of bad equipment because I was a long way away, but I didn't want to take some big Canon or whatever to kind of take pictures. So I had some equipment that was kind of suboptimal. So this is just like a snapshot, and the quality was not so great, but I just love this image, and so let's go to see where I wanted to take this. Again, this was a lot of Topaz Studio, and I'm shy, and I love that because what you could do is you bring out just a little bit of the girl hiding, you bring out lots of things with the clothes. Obviously this mom is, she is like, doing everything that all of, the other kid dancers were supposed to be doing. And she's really into that, she's getting into this 4-year-old into this thing, but the 4-year-old just ain't going there, and stuff like that. And it was just so cute. The print kind of, I had a hard time matting and displaying this print, so I just kind of mucked around with it. I tried to expand this to make some things so that it would come out with a nice 8:10 kind of aspect ratio, but I think I failed that part of Chuck's course to get that. I could take out distractions, but I have not been able to figure out how to expand all that kind of stuff. So again, it is cute, but I like what it does. The things that that when you start doing this, it brings out hair, clothes, lighting, and various kinds of textures of things. That is just really nice to give you that emotional feel.
yeah, it's nice. It's on the edge of cartoony, but it's still got all that rich characteristic you would expect in a photograph.
Yeah.
It's neat.
Yeah. This, and I kind of just put a few of the before and after image. This is an intentional camera motion, movement kind of picture. And again, taking at my granddaughter's recital. She's the one on the left. She's always been kind of a squirrely kid, and stuff like that. And I was absolutely amazed at her with her at this dance recital. She was like, excuse the pun, right on point. She was doing everything that she was supposed to do. She was not really on point. They don't do that. But she was, concentrating and just doing all this stuff. But occasionally when they weren't exactly doing stuff, she was interacting with the girls that were next to her who were also doing the things that, and there was a lot of energy. I have a lot of pictures of her, but at this moment, it's like it's been into the wild. It's a little bit boring. I'm going to try some creative things. So I had a setting so I could switch between regular photographs and doing ICM, slow motion, and so I could do some zooms. And so basically, I took this with her and this, this little Afro-American dancer, and they were just vibing off of each other. There was so much energy going on there, and this kind of picture reflects that. And when you take the white balance and you start monkeying with it, and then saturation, and it really starts to bring out a bunch of different kinds of things. So.
Tom, I really like this. I can tell that you use the zoom, you change, because I do a lot of ICM, but I love the vibrant colors and the fluid nature to that. It's really well done.
Thank you.
And energy is exactly the right word.
Yeah. When we did our little monthly theme and stuff like this, the version that I had then was probably, I took it and kind of continued to work on it, by taking it back in and out of different kinds of things. And then after you do some of the more, weird kind of processing that you do, taking it back into regular Lightroom and kind of treating it like you would treat a normal photo, it really helps to bring out, even more what you're trying to do with the image. Okay. This one's called Can, and for my mother-in-law's 90th birthday, we took her to Can. And kind of after this, kind of the show, she asked, well, where were the strippers? And and, well, it's in the afternoon. It's PG, so there weren't going to be any. You ain't staying up so late. This was taken in 2019, and then this is like in the dark and light, and so basically this just captures some energy, and then you take a lot of stuff and you just whoop up on it until you get something that kind of captures the movement and the energy that's in the room.
So how much did you play with color in this one?
When you start changing white balance, it automatically will maybe switch to pick up the more dominant color. I don't spend I may switch with saturation, but one thing I don't play with that a lot of people do is actually switching colors. So
pink it is.
So pink it is, and it actually kind of pinkish. It was kind of white, but the light that was driving that was making everything red. Probably because it was just so dark in there. Okay, let's go to the next one, and this is a golden hour photo at Golden Gate. Golden Park,
Golden Gardens.
Golden Gardens, yeah, and basically what's driving the color in here is basically taking and changing the white balance to really reflect shade, and that when you do that, it really brings out kind of your typical more yellowish kind of cast and stuff like that.
This reminds me a little bit of those Polaroids that we used to play with. They come out of the camera and then you could run a pen on them or whatever, and it just kind of fuzz up the background.
I think this one, this one
And did
kind of
you do that?
mimics.
Did you do that just by focus of the background, or did you manipulate that the waves a little bit?
Well, actually, it's probably shot at a pretty wide open aperture to kind of blur that. I sometimes will take and blur the background, first, kind of highlighting the subject and then blurring the background a little bit. When I took this into, I think, Topaz, there's one kind of preset look of the God dancers, famous impressionist who did a lot of pictures of dancers that kind of muck things up a little bit. And that's been played with a little bit, and it's gone through several iterations of other kinds of things where you're just totally, doing things and whatever. But the main light and stuff is really being driven by, the original photo. One of the things that I love to shoot is the trashing, or it's kind of a recycled, reuse fashion thing that Bainbridge has every year. I've missed the last 2 years, but this is like 2 years ago, and I used this one just to introduce the trashing show, and I love trash. And there's just a lot of color and stuff like that. There is just a lot of color in there, and there's just a little bit of manipulation that brings it out. And I just put there to kind of really introduce the genre. I think my favorite image that I've ever shot in connection of this was during the pandemic. Go to the next one. They did things in the field so people could be 6 feet apart. Out in kind of the meadow, in the Grand Forest and stuff like that. So you have this beautiful thing. I did manipulate the white balance, the shade, and this was one of the, I think, the top prizes in the thing. And what's really interesting about this dress, and the designer basically was kind of doing this Escher kind of thing with bats and stuff, and the dress is actually made out of recycled curtains and stuff like this. And this model, it's just very photogenic, and combined with that and this wonderful background, which you kind of like, you play with it to get that kind of Van Gogh-ish type treatment of the field and stuff. So just I like that, and she was just so photogenic.
Tom, on the previous one, did you replace the background on it, or was that?
No, they actually had that background.
They had that. Okay, all right.
And that's one of the reasons, because they had the 3 people standing there, and it gave me a chance to get one of the, somebody who'd actually, the designers and the model and stuff. Usually the models are just somebody, the daughter or the mom, or, friend or whatever and stuff like that. So, this just gets people and they get what they, different, things. Sometimes they're given the materials, and they just try to do something with what they got, with their luck of the draw.
And this one speaks to the beauty of kind of, the balance and some of the things that we talked about last month with Paul about where the subject is in the picture, and the resonance between her red hair and lipstick and the little swag of color in the corner. It all plays together to make it more than a snapshot would be, for sure.
Yeah. And this was shot at the cherry blossoms. That's another favorite things to shoot. Is trying to do each year, to shoot at the cherry blossom time at UW. And this young lady, obviously, there are lots of of Japanese students that are basically, having their pictures, taken. She's actually, posing for somebody, and this is probably going to be a snapshot or a picture that's going back home and stuff like that. Well, I saw that and got in there, and she kind of got embarrassed because I was, shooting her too and stuff. So she put up with me for a while, not long, but a while, and basically, allowed me to capture that. The one thing that's nice and different about this is, thank you, Chuck, for your seminar on generating stuff to easily remove something. I had a really bad distracting person that I had to cut out of the picture, and it made it really easy. I tried to clone it out once before, could never get rid of it in a way, and so this actually allowed me to do that. Again, a lot of the manipulation of color was white balance related.
Well, you're welcome, Tom. If it were that easy to get rid of irritating, distracting people in real life, that would be something.
I knew that was coming, Chuck. I knew that
I
was
would buy
coming.
that software. I would buy that software.
That
Hey.
does speak to the idea of for people who are watching this who aren't part of the photo club, the idea that a number of techniques and tricks and tools are shared by you guys every month. And so it's a great way to learn things you didn't even know you wanted to know. And I know, Diane, you talked about the camera movement tricks, which was something far from your mind when you started at the club.
For sure.
I like to take pictures of street musician, and this is my guitar hero. I have picture of him, that shows his face and shows all the amps and stuff like that. But sometimes part of the picture is better than the whole thing. And just wanted to hone in on the song he was playing. He was really shredding it or something, like that, and whatnot. And I like the I like the tone on the guitar. I actually have not a guitar like this, but I have a guitar that had spent time in a trailer when I used to be in a band in Nebraska in the winters. Then you bring it in, to the warm place where you're playing, and the finish cracked and stuff like that. And so, it kind of looks like that without having to manipulate anything. But anyway, I just love to take pictures of street musicians and stuff like that.
So, Tom, you played in a rock band in Minnesota?
In Nebraska.
Oh, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Oh, well, not much different.
Fewer lakes. Again, street musicians, and Mama plays bass, and it's an iPhone photo, and so I played with this in this software called Snapseed, and it allows you to do some like HDR techniques, and they get pretty extreme, and it's got other things, and it's really where you really take that chain, and whip up on that piece of furniture to get it, all nice. And then I took with it more, and I just, I like the feel. I like the fact that the crowd in the background gets, when you start manipulating that, it kind of begins to disappear, or it becomes less prominent.
Oh, I know I probably won't learn any more by the answer to this, but what does HDR stand for?
High definition resolution. It's kind of, you're taking the whole spectrum of light and colors and things like that through multiple images that are then combined into one. This is an eagle taking flight, and this happened right outside my window. I think on Thanksgiving or something like that. He was up in a tree eating something. It was done, and so I took multiple shots It was like late in the day, and the eagle was in really, really heavy shade and shadow. So one of the things I did to all of the images that comprise this was to basically change I shoot in RAW, so I have all the different white balances instead of what the camera thinks it's trying to put together. I said, oh, change all of these to shade. And what it did is it made everything yellow. And then I took it into Photoshop as layers, and then then I basically put it together and as kind of a panorama, and that's what you got. And I really like the way, just the colors and stuff like that. It came out, I was hoping for something else, but it came out with an image I really, really liked.
So I'm sorry, was this a multiple exposure in
It
camera?
wasn't multiple, it was, yeah, it was like, it wasn't, it was multiple exposures.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's
But
very
they were
nice.
put together, they were put together in production, right? Not,
Yeah, yeah,
Not in your
not-
camera, because
Not in the
some
camera.
cameras will do that, so I just,
yeah. Sony does not.
okay.
So, yeah.
yeah,
and
and I love what you said about this isn't what you expected, but you really liked it.
yeah.
That's a delightful surprise of creativity. And this
Hey.
to me seems like if we were looking at expressionism before, this is definitely impressionism, right? I've got it right.
I would say it's more it's more expressionism. It's like, it's kind of like the Scream or something like that. It's not like, yeah. It's further afield. This is Liberty on a trash heap. And I've taken a number of shots of the kind of a Statue of Liberty over the last several years. And it's kind of this feeling I have that, I'm not pleased, and I can see looking at this from, both political perspectives. I'm not, pleased with what's happening in our country, and so I continue to, when I see something like this, it's trying to express my feeling. I'm in the middle. I don't have any friends on the left, and I don't have any friends on the right. And I'm just really centralist, and I kind of really believe in some of these real values, and I'm very concerned because of that. And I'm really focusing in those central kinds of things in my way of thinking about life and politics and policy. So that's just,
Where did you find Lady Liberty in this situation?
at the Tulip Fest, at Tulip Town. My other Statue of Liberty was Liberty crying because of rust. It looked like tears. Was at kind of the shop in Polesbo, one of the garden shops right on Viking Way and stuff like that. But yeah. And I also like diners. And so this is a diner in Seattle called, Kid Burger. And I always like taking pictures in diners and stuff like that. So, nothing that I just like the way when you play with it, the colors and the metal just kind of popped out.
Yeah, that's it, with a couple of exceptions. It does seem like you do like dramatic, bright colors, at least in this show.
Yeah. And that's kind of one of the key things of expressionism is, color distortion and whatnot. Impressionism is more pastel. Expressionism is more, just really light and bright. Again, a street image, a street photography image. This is the Chief Seattle Club. Basically, they were in, had gathered for a march, and were meeting up, in the square and down there, and this lady was, with her feather doing the smoke, and they have all the, the people who are in the march listed, and it was just an interesting kind of shot. Okay. People in the photo club have heard me say, and I when I was reading my book to learn about my camera and photography in 2015, this was just taken this last year, this last fall. It said one of the things, good photography, you don't include family members unless you use them as an accessory. And so in this picture, I'm dawdling like I usually do. My wife has said, I'm leaving. I actually have I have a 1-year-old in a carriage, and I'm playing with my camera standing back. She's walking off. Helps me frame this picture, but this is kind of like several images taken with an iPhone, and then they've been combined in a double exposure in Snapseed to basically kind of give you this blurry look, and then further manipulated in Topaz and stuff like that. But it's got all the great things you would see in Seattle fall day, the leaves, people walking, a van for a homeless person that's outside of a pocket park, all the kinds of elements that you would see in the Seattle streets.
Yeah, that's really the vibrancy of that picture is stunning.
This is Seattle under construction, and this is a double exposure in Snapseed where you combine two photographs. One is, a picture of the Seattle skyline, and the other picture is it was a tube of rebar, a tubular shaped thing of rebar that was outside the ferry terminal. Rob Wagner had taken this picture, the same piece of rebar, and had put his wife in the center of it and done the classic, Da Vinci type picture with that. Well, I took the same. Oftentimes we take the same picture, but we definitely do different things with it. And so basically, I wrap this together, and it's kind of like, this is my emotion with spending a lot of time at the Seattle ferry these days, and basically dealing with all the mess that you have with all the constructions, the late ferries, etc. And it gave me time to play with it.
That looks like more than 2 exposures to me. I mean, it's just, there's
Well,
so much
it's got
going
it's
on.
got other things that I've taken it, even a step further,
Yeah.
both with Snapseed and also other kinds of software and things like that.
That's
You
my
just keep-
favorite. I like you have the circle here, and
Yeah.
then all those angular, rectangular shapes in contrast with each other sets up a lot of tension between the different movements.
Yeah, well, the circle is the wheel, so
Right.
yeah, and just all that other
The
kind
the circle is also bisected by all these angles.
yeah.
So it is a cacophony of angles and connections and a lot of movement going on in that picture.
This is one I could look at for quite a while. There's so much going on, and yeah, very creative.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. A lot of photography, you want to keep it simple, and no,
Not always.
you have to make it complex. And arriving Seattle, I do a lot of early morning commutes to babysit, and you're seeing Smith Tower in there, and things are gearing up. They're starting to get people there. I had a moment when I wasn't trying to sleep that I said, I'm taking a photo, and then we see what we're going to do with it. It was a very boring snapshot to begin with, but you take that and you kind of really begin to get that everyday life kind of feel, but you take it then to something that maybe kind of expresses it. you know, I was kind of excited getting, you know, being able to get off the boat.
And you get that movement from your, I guess it's uh layering of the same
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's layering the picture, and it does, and Snapseed, when you do different kinds of things, you can play with, it gives you a glamour glow. You can put grunge filters in there. You know, you can do just a lot of different kinds of things to easily, and play with something. But then I also take it to into other things to kind of even maybe take it a little further, or do things that you can't do on iPhone, just playing around 5 minutes.
And I like the fact that the not only the focus but the sharpness varies so much in different parts of this
Oh, yeah.
this picture.
Yeah, this, I like this, obviously, you got some bad weather, bad light. It's early morning getting into Seattle, and it's the daily, morning commute, kind of thing. And it, just spoke to me. What made me take the photo was seeing the reflection of the bicyclist in the car. I was awake. I may have been sleeping a few minutes earlier, and I saw that and said, I'm taking the picture. And, it was just a snapshot, but the feeling is a lot more because of that reflection that you see.
The reflection is great, Tom. I can
Yeah.
see why you reacted that way.
And speaking of reflections,
Yeah, big reflections, and also one of my favorite subjects, that challenge of, I like to take a picture, you should take a picture on the ferry every time you're on it, but from a different perspective. I took a lot of pictures about ferry infrastructure, and it's really neat, when you're sitting there, you're trying to go to sleep or do something, or, it may have been a hard day babysitting, and you look out there and you see, this, in your mirror, something that looks pretty sharp. Obviously, objects in your mirror are maybe closer than you seem, and thankfully it wasn't a Tyrannosaurus. You see that, and then when you take it into Snapseed, you can see it, it responds to different levels of sharpness and stuff like that. And it was just, catching that, said, I got to take a picture.
I really like the tones the cool tones, and then there's some warmer tones on the floor. It's just, it's well done.
I don't manipulate color. I do saturation, and I vary light a lot. Just normal, using the normal sliders.
well, you got a lot out of that one, I'll tell you.
I'm glad the Coast Guard is protecting us, and I saw, I saw the the boat, making the wake. I saw the other ferry coming the other direction, but and so I took my iPhone and I stuck it up to the glass to try to get a clearer picture. And what I didn't know I was going to get was the reflections of the passengers on the other side. And because my iPhone was on the glass, and I got that to take a look at it, I said, wow, that's cool. But again, taking a lot of time on that ferry.
That goes to my earlier comment about mistakes may turn out to be not mistakes after all.
Yeah. A hot day, waiting in, at the ferry dock, and Coleman Dock. This is a double exposure, taking two different pictures and kind of, different angles and putting them together, and it gives that blurry. And it was hot, so when the windows are down, it's still hot. you still have an hour wait. And you start playing with the white balance and the color changes, and it just kind of, you feel that weight right there in that heat.
If you were watching the news last night, though, Tom, there's going to be a lot more boats starting in 28, 29, 30, 31. So just be patient.
Yeah.
Meantime, take more pictures.
Is this when they're going to have the contracts to build them, or they're going to actually be online?
We'll see.
One of the the favorite times to be on the ferry is during prom. And that street photographer in me, I'm sitting in the background hiding, trying to get a picture, of whatever. And I really like this. The guys aren't so dressed up. They're always a little nervous. Here they're playing pocket pool and and whatnot. And it's just such a cool day. and so I played with this. I think what's really nice about it when you play with it, it just brings out all the wrinkles in their clothes and the textures in the fabric in a kind of a nice way. Plus, it's just something that's just so Bainbridge. Love this car. It was taken in Fort Worth, and it's called driver's education. I just took it because it's a neat car. When you play with it, it just brings out so much of the other things. And I particularly like the surfboard and the bongos that kind of just showed up when you kind of played with it and whatnot. It's just I've only seen it once, but somebody was obviously bought something from Hubbard, Ohio.
A surfboard in Hubbard, Ohio.
Yeah, it didn't fit, man. I was like,
It didn't fit.
A 56 and a half Chevy. When I in Ace parking lot, when I was in high school, I wanted 55, 56, 57 Chevys so bad. Instead, I got a 1960 Dodge Dart with the fins, and so I was taking, this was I love these cars, and so I was taking a number of shots with my iPhone with this one, and so I actually tried to shoot a panoramic, okay, with while I was moving, and it just did not work, and it came out with this kind of midget clown car. I did another shot, and it came out with very elongated, and it looks like it should have been like a 1960s, car with fins and stuff. And so I just liked it. One of the things I tried to do, but was unsuccessful at, is to kind of clone out and try to get the rear tire and the fender to go together. This is an area where I may go back and try some of the AI technologies to see if I can really make it more realistic, but I was just not able to do that. But it was just this is just an odd car, I liked it.
Yeah, it's a Chevy smart car.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a two-door. When I was in high school, nothing was worse than if you were driving a four-door, because obviously it was your parents' car, and there's no way you'd want to be caught dead in it.
And the last one is, I think it was either Christmas Eve or Christmas morning, going to pick up the rolls at Penny de Moore, cloudy day, and just like, hey, let's capture the mood of the holidays in a slightly different manner. And again, very typical Bainbridge. I was going to do this totally on kind of typical Bainbridge images, but it kind of morphed in the thing. But I tried to include as many pure Bainbridge images as possible. So
Thank you. This is a great one.
Yeah, you clearly had a lot of fun expressing yourself with these kind of ordinary shots and turning them into something really, really different.
Oh, nice
Tom,
work.
an amazing variety.
Mhm.
Your shot of the Statue of Liberty reminded me of the current issue of the New Yorker. They have this tradition of putting little tiny drawings in the spacers in their articles, and they always have some kind of theme. And this issue, it's the Statue of Liberty playing and running around with a very large apple, which is like 6 feet across, with a face on it and legs and hands. And it took me a little while before I realized, oh yeah, New York is the big apple. And so that's what's going on, the two symbols playing with each other.
Thank you, Tom. That was wonderful. And for those people who are watching it later, I've got a link to your photos online in the little description box on YouTube underneath. We really appreciate the time you Photo Club folks put in putting out an exhibit every month that we can all see in the atrium and also online. So
Well,
thank
thanks
all
for
of you.
making that possible for us.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thanks for letting us in the door, Reed.
Yeah, sure.
There's also a link down below to the Photo Club website. So if you want to learn more about the Photo Club.